Do it. Do it now. Toast.
Oh,
Toast.
Yeah. We're back. Here we are.
Toast.
Welcome, everybody, to Humans in 30ish. Luke McCredden here with Matt Peake. Matt, how are you, mate?
Oh, I'm really sorry about that, Luke. I was with my audio, the Bluetooth. I tell you, Bluetooth. Do you think the person that invented Bluetooth invented Blu-ray?
Maybe.
Because I reckon
issues?
Bluetooth's in trouble. Bluetooth's in trouble.
Ooh, okay.
It's not reliable.
Yeah. Mr. Blue needs to sort his shit out, you reckon?
Well, just call it a different color. Blu-ray never went anywhere.
What was Blu-ray? I never understood it, to be honest.
No one did. No one did.
Well, then I feel
Anyway.
better about it. Yeah, I feel much better about it. Welcome everyone. This is, if you're new to Humans in 30ish, this is a podcast series where Matt and myself bring a couple of topics each to the table. Neither of us know what we're bringing, and we break it down, we pull it apart, and we see what sense we can make of it. To date, there's been some very random, very fun, very serious, very confusing topics. It's been great.
Yeah. It's been a mocktail or a cocktail of various things, and I think this week we've seen Mars as close as it's been for a long time, and we won't see that again until 2035. So there's something in the air, some magnetism.
Okay,
you can feel it. So Let's see what happens tonight.
Let's see what happens tonight. And I don't think any other restaurant chains have closed down with this week. I think we're all clear. It was only Sizzler a couple of weeks back.
Knock on wood. This is Malamite, but I'll knock on it.
Knock on it anyway. It's all good. All right, let's jump in. I'm kicking things off this week. I'm just going to dive straight into it. And
shoot first.
Yeah, I'm not going to beat around the bush with this one. I'm going to ask the question that is my main point with this topic, and that is, why is the mullet back in style? Why?
Oh. Do you want me... There's someone who doesn't. It's hard for me. I don't have hair, so it's
you're not the most qualified person to talk to about this subject. But
I'm not in a. Yeah, you go.
You've witnessed it, and you see what I'm talking about. Though, have you noticed the mullet trend? I mean, for any footy fan, it's in your face every week. There's this thing across the world of football where players are getting on board with these mullets, and I'm just curious as to know why and what it's all about. Because for me, to look at, there's nothing stylish. There's nothing sexy. There's nothing even comfortable about it. I imagine some of the mullets that I've seen getting around are quite uncomfortable, and to put your head on the pillow at the end of a big day of work or footy or whatever it is, I can't see the how that can be all that comfortable. But anyway, maybe I'm missing something. But I'm calling out for you to maybe give me some insight into what this is all about.
I mean, my question, have you seen it? Sure, I've seen, footy players and a few other celebrities have it. Have you seen it on the street?
Yes.
Sort of day to day out there? You have?
Well, this is one of the main reasons that I brought it up because obviously here in Melbourne, schools have just gone back this week and doing the drop-off and pick-up for my daughter's school. It's a primary school thing now. There's kids getting around with some of the dirtiest looking mullets. I'm not being I'm being dead serious. Even first day back, I picked my daughter up and she said, "Oh my God, Dad, so and so in her grade has this mullet and it's horrible." Like, it's unbelievable. So it's filtering down through professional athletes, through to people, everyday people in the street, to kids now through primary school age, with mullets, and not just little, not just little bits of, it's full blown, shaved in, all in.
Well, I mean, if it's kids in primary school, firstly, the parents have to take some responsibility for that.
Yes.
But we could break this down a little bit, because you've got, say, the trend of the 80s and 90s, more 80s, where the Stranger Things, where, there's that really good-looking cat who's in Stranger Things, who's got the mullet. I think his name's Billy. And then, that gets seen by probably parents of age that would have kids in primary school. And then that might spark a little bit of an idea. And then you see someone like, the similar looking dude who's another good looking, cool cat who plays for the Dogs.
Yeah.
If you're a real specimen and you're really good looking, then sure. But then, I don't think it's a haircut that translates to people who aren't as good looking. And I think the issue is, it's about hybrids, man. You've got to know hybrids it's a bit of flavor from the 80s. You can't just go copy the mullet from the 80s. Sure, have a mullet sort of vibe or shape, but evolve it. And I feel sorry for those kids because there's only a few people or, men or even, some women could pull it off, but very few can pull it off. And, Bailey Smith won't have that haircut in 18 months. I'm calling it right now.
Oh, yeah. No, that's a fair call. Maybe even sooner. And you mentioned 80s and even 70s, but and even probably one of the most iconic mullets, which was probably 90s, I think, now thinking about it, Billy Ray Cyrus, one of the great mullets of all time. But going back further, Farnsey, John Farnham had a great mullet. There was some football. Dermy had a great mullet playing footy for the Hawks back in the day, and there were Gary Ayres. There were plenty of them. And it made sense. But I would think that they would look back at footage or videos or photos now and think, what was I thinking? Oh, well, it was an era thing. But to now see it come back, I'd love to know what they think of it. It's a horrendous look, but each to their own. As
someone who, as I said, is follically challenged, don't waste your opportunity.
Yeah.
Don't blow it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't get it. I can't believe it's filtered through. Look, I think maybe the AFL thing has encouraged the kids because let's face it, they're role models, the AFL footballers, and a lot of the kids that look up to them in a lot of ways. So this is actually probably a good example of it's not just the footy; it's the all-round persona and image that they want to get, they want to strive to achieve. But yeah, geez, I don't know.
I think it's an identity issue. As someone who hasn't probably been to a hairdresser since the summer of 2005, where I was informed that I was going bald by not even my hairdresser, just some random guy just walked past. But I back then there was a lot more education on the styles available, but now it seems we're just doing a lot of retro stuff and it's lazy. Let's think outside the box and get some hybrid styles. But that's all I have to offer as someone without the hair. But I think there needs to be more education on the styles that are available.
Can we write this one off as there's that catchphrase or that throwaway line, ISO haircut? Can we write that off, this whole scene, this movement as an ISO haircut movement, and then maybe moving on a few months, hopefully we're in a bit better position, and maybe parents will look at their kids and go, "Oh, what have I done? We need to get that sorted out," and pop down to the hairdresser and fix things up.
Who's someone that's got a great do at the moment?
A great mullet, or just a great
a great haircut. A great haircut. Let's say a man who's a man out there we know who's got a great haircut.
Ooh, yeah. Look, put me on the spot. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Neither do I. I mean, but
there's smarter and I guess a bit neater and less. I just think it comes with a bit of a stigma that you're a bit of a loose unit, maybe. And I don't think kids need that stigma attached to them at primary school age. But anyway,
Leo's always had great hair, though, hasn't he?
Yeah, and you love Leo. Let's be honest.
Oh yeah, I do. But he's just always brought it.
Yep.
And Brad.
Yeah. Yep. So let's put their photos back on the wall. Yep. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, they're still up. Yeah.
Righto.
Good. That's a good start. I wanted to talk about. Now, I know we brought him up in episode 1, and this isn't about DT. It's not. But I am noticing some things that are filtering down into, and this is what this is about, so, humans and day-to-day life. But culturally, there's things I'm a little bit concerned about. I wanted to bring up, there's that old cliche, the power of positivity. And I'm actually concerned about the abuse of positivity, right?
Yeah.
Now, because there was a guy, and this is at my work, and he's a client, and it's a company that no one would really know. They're not like anything to rave about. And in a meeting, he said that he has the best people in the world working for him. And I'm like, hang on, this sounds familiar. And then I thought, well, maybe I could try in my day-to-day life and work to just start to be so, because it becomes so positive that it's offensive. But what if we did take that and, just like quite standard things at work, like my boss would ask me, oh, how did that meeting go? And I'm just like, oh, as far as meetings go, it was probably one of the better meetings, or maybe even the best meeting that's ever happened. Or, hey, Matt, how's that report coming on? Well, I don't want to, as far as reports go, this is a tremendous report. And a lot of great people have been part of this. And I think as far as reports go, maybe it's the best report we've ever seen. What if you just brought that positivity consistently? Could you sort of really insulate yourself from and meet your KPIs by just being overly positive?
I think it'd wear thin. I think it'll wear pretty thin, because I have a similar experience with someone I work with, and it's very much that everything's one of the best of all time, or the best going around you. I mean, to claim anything's the best in the world based on your opinion, they've spent a lot of time doing a very large worldwide survey that I didn't realize they were doing in their downtime, but maybe you can bluff your way out of things by being way overconfident or over positive. Perhaps it's emotional though, isn't it? Like that person doesn't have time to go and do that research. No. But the risk is if it like goes into, say, like an oncologist. So, it's a big tumor. We found the tumor. Yeah. And as far as tumors go, this thing's huge. There's a lot to work with. There's a lot to work with here. But what if that positivity comes out too much and they're just like, we're the best in the world, you'll be fine. You start giving that to clients, and they walk away. You walk out of a dental surgery and they say, you've got the best teeth in the world, you've got nothing to worry about, and you walk out going, how good's this? And then your teeth fall out 5 days later. There's a risk involved in doing that. Yeah, well, we wouldn't have found that tumor if we didn't scan for it. Yeah. Like the testing. If we didn't test, there would be no tumor. So I think I'm seeing it, but I'm actually wondering if I could maybe try it just to see how my bosses react to it. Just sort of fuck with them a little bit. I'd love you to do that and then come back to us with some feedback.
Yeah.
What angle would you take?
Imagine we're losing. Just like that. Like
whatever comes up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if we're losing money, like if accounts are losing money, or if sales are down, just like I could say, well, yeah, that I don't even know how to spin that one, but it would be as far as losses go, it's probably the most severe losses we've seen. I mean, that's the crazy thing. It's like, it's hard to spin, but I'm seeing it, and I think culturally it could take off in a really dangerous way.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think, maybe it could be. And then on the flip side, sort of like that, like, one of the worst losses or extreme losses we've ever seen. The negative ones might be like, that you got a scratch on your hand, mate. What happened? Oh, mate, it is the worst scratch that's ever happened to anyone. It'll probably kill me. I'm probably going to die because of this scratch on my hand. So, I'm sure there's people that exaggerate injuries or illnesses like that. So, yeah.
It's a good. I tell you, we were actually doing it. Before we couldn't go out. Remember when people would tell you about a restaurant? They go, "Oh, that's the best meal I've ever had." They'd say that. I mean, it's the same thing. Oh, you got to go there. It's the best meal. And then movies as well. It's like just this hyper positivity. And I think the power of positivity needs to be really
reeled in a bit.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But that was an observation that I had, and yeah, the best people. We've got the best people in the world. The dude actually said that to me. We've got the best people in the world.
That's a massive call. That's a massive call. But no, good on him for going out and meeting every person in the world to make sure that he does have the best team in the world. That's good. Good on him. And he's got a lot of time on his hands. No, that's good. That's a good observation, Matt. Thank you. Well, the next thing that I'm bringing to you and to the listeners is a bit of a trip down memory lane, but it's also open to suggestion or feedback and see if we are missing something here. But it's a bit of a where are they now? Do you remember the likes of Fat Cat, Humphrey B. Bear?
Yeah.
You're
Agro.
familiar with these. We're a similar sort of vintage and.
Mr. Squiggle.
Mr. Squiggle, a fantastic one, and he came with Blackboard and Gus the Snail and the likes. But
Aussie Ostrich,
Dickie Knee. There's some fantastic
Pluck a
puppet
Duck
characters, and I think the pinnacle growing up was the sexually inappropriate Agro.
Love Agro.
Cartoon Connection. Agro was magnificent.
Wasn't he on charges?
No, Agro's fine. He's fine.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Hey, Agro actually. So Jamie Dunn, who is the actor and the puppeteer behind or under Agro, you might say, I think he was about to or started doing a live show, which was like an adults only type live show with Agro. So that would have. But I think the whole COVID thing kicked that in the guts. But anyway, my point there is, Fat Cat, Humphrey B. Bear, and Humphrey B. Bear. Funnily enough, I found his heritage listed. Like that's the sort of level that he got to in his career, and I think I'm sure he's still floating around somewhere. Fat Cat came off national sort of airwaves earlier on, but then he hung around doing some localized Perth stuff from all accounts up until fairly recently.
Maybe it was the increase in obesity in the Western world. They thought it was a bad message for kids.
Well,
to be fat?
Do you know the thing that I kept finding, because I actually thought, Fat Cat, where is Fat Cat? So I did a bit of a search, and the thing that kept popping up, and this is all alleged, but they reckon one of the reasons they took him off or canned Fat Cat, it was because he didn't have a defined gender, so they were confused with his messaging, and it was also needed to be more educational.
That would be perfect now, though.
That's right, yeah. It's good now. It would be great. I keep saying he, but obviously we don't know, and that's okay. And maybe, look,
he identifies as Fat Cat. Or sorry, Fat Cat identifies as Fat Cat.
Exactly. They identify as Fat Cat.
Yeah. Them.
Yeah. And lack of there wasn't enough education that he brought to the table, or that Fat Cat brought to the table, and I think part of that was the fact he was mute, like he didn't speak. Similar to Humphrey B. Bear, but Humphrey just had it over Fat Cat, I think. Anyway,
but Humphrey was a male name, wasn't it?
Humphrey was a male. I think that was well established that Humphrey B. Bear was a. Yep, they checked.
They tested that.
Yep. But I think it's on record that it was. He was a male. I mean, prove me wrong. I'm 98% certain that was matter of fact.
He might not be now, but we haven't seen him for a while,
and that's fine as well.
I tell you though, think about Agro. Agro though. I'm not sure where he ended up, but he'd be good in jail. Like he'd do really well in jail. Don't you reckon he'd sort of run a ward and just chop people?
He'd be a pod boss. Oh yeah,
cigarettes and just run the whole operation.
But also, do you ever think, and I do when I think about Agro, that I think there's room for Agro now in a more of a late night scenario. I'm not worried about the kids as such. There's plenty for them to to get stuck into on TV and those sorts of things. But this is where I was going with this. I think the world. Australia needs an Agro, and I think I'd be quite happy for it to be Agro to come back. Everyone, around basically between 30 and 40 will be very familiar with Agro. But also the other part of it that I was going to raise was I don't know if there's enough of the real life characters. It's very animated now, which is fine. That's the way it's gone. But I don't think
Yeah.
you can connect as well as it. When you're a kid, you don't connect to a character like you did when they were a real life. Humphrey you could go see Humphrey do some sort of concert or something like that. When it's a cartoon trying to then turn into a bit of an onstage character, it doesn't work. It takes everything real away from it. And I'm just
Again,
thinking,
I think you've identified another opportunity in the market because the suit itself hasn't really evolved. Like a suit someone would wear hasn't really evolved since then, and
No.
and that could be something. I mean, I loved Plucker Duck. I thought Plucker Duck was so funny.
Plucker was great.
Like, in fact, so cheeky and funny.
Yeah, in fact, Plucker could probably get a gig on Agro's show. You know what I mean? They kind of were both a bit cheeky in their own way. But yeah,
this great two-hander.
This is the other thing. So you were saying last week there's a gap in the market for an intimate range of male lingerie, and I'm not sure how you're going with that yet, and we'll talk about that later. But this could be another gap, as you say. This is a gap in the market. If anyone's out there who's creatively inspired and just feels like they're looking for a niche to dive into, this could be it. Create a character, turn it into a suit, and hit the road. Hit the road with that thing.
I love it.
I'd love to see it. Yeah, and bring back Agro. I'll be there front and center. Agro, if he does a live show, late night with Agro. Perfect.
Yeah, I mean it's a tough gig in those suits, though, isn't it?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It's the puppeteering as well, and the voice work. It's just a craft that again has died, but I think it's a good call. It's a good call. Now, if we want to transition in, now this topic is a little bit heavy that I'm going to bring up.
Okay, that's okay.
So I wanted to bring up office cubicles, but office toilet cubicles.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Now, not all of our listeners, work in the corporate world, but many would know since working remotely and some of those challenges in back-to-back meetings, you get a little bit backed up. There's not much room, to do your business, right? And I've started actually to create little pockets, 10 minutes, 15 minutes between each meeting, just in case, because it just seems as 1 minute in an online meeting is, if you're 1 minute late, it's like equal to 10 minutes, right? So that's been one of the I guess the challenges of remote working. But with that said, I thought about it and then I compared it to the days where you would do your business in the office toilet cubicles. And I've got a little bit of OCD. I'm quite a hygienic person, so I want to get in and out, and back in the day, but 90% of the time, it was the worst, right? And you just know if you go in there and you can hear, it's like it's a western. The cowboy comes in and you hear his boots. And he's, jingling and a jangle. He opens the saloon door, and you hear them take off the pants. It's like, it's like their stirrups and their slingers, and they're a big bloke, and you're frozen, right? And then it's like the headshots from Goodfellas. You're like, right? And then after, it's like they let out this emotional, it's so emotional. And I'm just frozen. I'm so glad those days don't exist anymore. And you know that they're probably wanting to lose weight. They're probably about, maybe 250 pounds. That they've got a family, and the wife is encouraging to lose weight. They've had a light breakfast. So at 10:30, maybe they've had a falafel wrap that they think is kind of healthy. 5 minutes after eating it, bang, headshot. They're straight into the cubicle.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying, Luke, is that those moments would haunt me back in pre-pandemic.
Yep.
I'd love, if we ever get back to it, I would like to see a cone of silence implemented, because COVID, they do say it does travel through the anal cavity.
I didn't know. I haven't heard them say
DNS.
that.
No, DNS, Dr.
Yep.
Norman Swan, DNS on CoronaCast.
Okay.
It actually, they find it in sewage. Maybe there could be in office cubicles as a safety measure, a cone of silence, which would have a two-pronged effect. You would have privacy and you would have hygiene. Go.
Yeah. Look, there's two types of office cubicle toilet users. There's those that walk in knowing there's other people in other cubicles and might even turn around and walk out because they don't love the idea of just, letting go and knowing other people are witnessing and
yeah. I've walked away many times.
I'm in the same boat as you, Matt. But then there are others that you touched on before that embrace it, and they almost see it as a brotherhood, and it's like, hello, fellas, I'm just going into cubicle number 3 and just unleash hell, and it's not enjoyable for anyone. Obviously, they're okay with it, and that's, good on them. But yeah, I'm with you. I would love that. Regardless of the pandemic, if there was some sort of just shift in how we, had those moments.
And look, there's the third kind though that just have no choice. Like they're struggling. But a shout out to the ladies out there, and I'm sure that I assume it's far worse for the men. I haven't been in a ladies' bathroom for a long time, but I assume there's some nastiness that goes on in all circles. I think people can really hear me. It is an awkward situation, and the longer you're in there frozen, then you feel like, is the other person wondering what I'm doing in there?
Well, what's your position there? Do you wait until they've gone? Like, are you a waiter? Are you willing to sit for 40 minutes if you have to make sure that you don't want? Do you want to be identified? Is what I'm asking, as the frozen person in cubicle 3.
I try to remain silent, as quiet as I can be. But if I know I'm boxed in, I'll just move at speed and get the fuck out of there, and close my eyes, right?
Yeah,
and hope that they don't open the door at the same time.
Because that's the danger. Because then, that's a whole other discussion about, the awkward sink meeting where it's, hey, I just heard you back there. You okay, buddy? Yeah. You should go check that out.
Joe Pesci back there.
Yeah. What about at the trough, at the wall of, you okay?
No, that's fine. In the office environment, there's normally a little divider, but if you're at the footy, that's just piss. It's just business, right?
Yeah.
But number 2 is for men. It just goes to dark place.
And you're right. There's a certain level, and I'm with you, and I'm sure there's so many listeners that are on our side here that there's a certain level of anxiety that kicks in, isn't there? When you're heading down the corridor ready to open that door because you're just not sure what you're about to witness. Yeah. You might strike gold and there's no one there, no one comes in, but you walk out and there's no evidence that you've existed in that moment, and that's what you want.
Well, including me, I know a lot of friends from various jobs I've had who hunt for the untouched toilet, and they'll travel maybe half a mile to get there, and it's like a mirage. And then when everyone finds out about it, it just gets contaminated real quick. It's like a bloody. It's like a bad day in Baghdad. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So that you've got to take the wins in this sort of pandemic and lockdown, and I hope there's some changes with that in the new world when upon our return.
Yep. Okay. I'd love to know what that looks like. I can't picture it at the moment. The theory and the concept, I'm on board. Well done.
Yes.
Well done.
Yes, Luke.
Yep. It's a tough conversation, but that's got to be had.
Well, yeah, you do. You got to talk about these things, and I know people can relate. And there's some people that are so brazen that just don't care.
Yeah,
and it's a real experience for them, and they don't care who he is.
They trouble me, those people, because they're the ones that affect everyone else in the workplace.
Yeah,
those people can single-handedly ruin people's days. In one sitting, pardon the pun.
So absolutely,
they're a powerful person. I'm not one of them.
No, I know that. I know, and well, no, not that I know that, but I know that.
Yeah. Okay. Great. No, that's a good. I'm glad
Yeah.
I'm glad we finished with that. That was a thing, and that's I'd like people to go away now after listening to this, and if nothing else, just have a think about some ways that we can incorporate a cone of silence.
Glass. I've seen a lot of glass. I've seen a lot of glass at IGA, Chemist Warehouse. I've seen the partitions. There seems to be a surplus of glass out there, so fabricating. So let's just get it in some cubicles and get a Maxwell Smart cone of silence going.
Fair enough.
The poo of silence.
Very good. I love it. Well done, and that's us for 30.
We're only human. Right?
We are only human. Absolutely. Hey, thanks, Matt. Fantastic work. Very good. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you got something out of that. I'm sure there's something there for everyone. And as we finish up tonight, we go out with this by our very good friend, Nick Anderson.
Nick would get it.
Maybe it's why Nick doesn't work a corporate job, and I get that.
That's a choice, and I respect that. I think that's when people decide to go to TAFE or uni. It's that. But then you've got the portables. That's another. We can talk about that next week.
Oh, God.